Welcome to Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, the creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. For the past 9 years, I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I started raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott. For the past 9 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned on this journey. As the Alternative Dog Moms, we're bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and sharing the tips, tricks, and resources we learn along the way. Now, let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
How are you?
I'm okay. It feels like it's been months. Like it's been months and months, but it's only been a few weeks, and it's hard because I was scrolling through my phone looking for a picture and came across a picture of Scout kissing me, and was just like, oh, I'm sad again now.
Aww.
I don't want to find the picture anymore. Who cares?
Yeah, it's really hard. Like whether you know it's coming, whether it's sudden, whether it was a company. I mean, it's just
really hard. But I'm getting so many great messages from other people who have lost their dogs too recently and what they're going through. And I did an episode over on Girls with Dogs, our last episode, where I just talked about it with Kathy. And I'm getting messages from people who are like, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. Where I was like, I don't really feel like hanging out with people.
Yeah.
When I do, it's just to like have a nice distraction. Sometimes I just don't want to be around people. Like there was a few nights ago where I just sat on the sofa, and there's many of these nights actually, sat on the sofa with my Kindle. I love my Kindle Fire. I swear that is like the best invention.
Yes.
And I know this is controversial, but I love my Alexa too. I love her so much because she tells me things when I ask her. But I'm sitting here with my Kindle. There's this, I don't know if I told you this before, but there's a fashion designer game on it. Oh. And I feel like it's like one of those things where, when you watch a bunch of cooking shows and then you're convinced that I can do that. Too.
Right.
Now I'm like, I can be a fashion designer. I'm good. I'm getting everyone, because you basically score other people's designs and stuff. And it doesn't really mean anything. It's a silly game, but it's so much fun. So I was up until probably 1 a.m. playing this game and watching Marvel movies. And it was like the best night ever.
Self-care, whatever you need is okay.
And Johan is being so awesome about it because he's just like, well, if that's what you're going to do. And the other night I watched, so I guess we're having TV talk at the beginning. The other night I watched a movie that I've been meaning to watch since it came out on Netflix. It's called Extraction, and it's with Chris Hemsworth. And I'm watching this movie, and I just kept saying over and over, this is really violent. This is really violent. But then I finished Becoming Elizabeth I think it's on Stars. And that is really violent. Like they beheaded someone. And they show the whole thing. And and of course I'm just sitting here just staring at the TV like, wow, that's not family friendly. and wondering, I would love to see the behind the scenes of how do they do this? Because but it was like, wow, this is violent. And I mean, I think that's like the theme of the past week is TV. It's like, wow. And so that's been me. How have you been doing?
I'm good. Our weekend binge was the dark side of the 90s. So like was there
a dark side?
Well, they talked like about the loss of, there's an episode like about grunge music and like the loss of Kurt Cobain and, and the other musicians to, heroin. And then there was an episode, about like cults and about like the Waco thing and the Heaven's Gate people. Right. That was really interesting. Yeah.
Oh, how
Yeah.
funny. I thought the Heaven's Gate people were in the 80s for some reason.
They were around for a long time. I didn't
The
know
track
that.
shoots and the tinny shoes. That's what I
Yes.
remember.
Yes. There
And
was some, that one's really worth watching.
was it Adidas shoes?
Nikes. I think it was Nikes.
Was it Nike? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I just think of that, now as an adult looking back, thinking about the company going, damn it. Like, how are we going to spend this? Should we just not say anything? Or,
Hey, no publicity is bad publicity.
Exactly. It's like, it's fine. They're talking about us. But yeah, there's Princess Diana, and then what was it? Biggie Smalls.
Yeah, there was a West Coast, East Coast rap wars thing. So Tim and I were like, we could give a lecture on this. Like, we already knew this.
I know. It's just like, now that I'm thinking about it, there was a dark side. And then, of course, at the end of the 90s, everyone's afraid that the computers are going to.
Yes, they talked about that. And we were like reminiscing because I met Tim in the year of 2000. So we were like reminiscing on like, where were you, New Year's 99? Like.
That's so funny.
So that was like our big binge. And we're obsessed with What We Do in the Shadows. So
oh my God, is that not the best show ever?
I love it so much.
I love it so much. I get such a huge kick out of it. I mean, and I'm trying to not watch it every week because I get angry when I have to wait. All of these streaming platforms have, that and social media. I have no attention span and I have no patience. I want everything right now. And so I've taken a break from What We Do in the Shadows so I can at least bank up like two or three
few of them. Yeah.
Watch it. But yeah, I love that show.
It's like so my sense of humor. Like I just love it.
It is so funny. And it's one of those shows where it's so disappointing when because Johan and I, there's some things we have very much have in common and we enjoy, but there are some things that are just me. And there are some things that are just him. And What We Do in the Shadows is just me. Because I tried to get him to, and he was just like, what are you watching? And the thing with the the energy vampire and how he came, I mean, I am dying about it because it's like, and none of it makes any sense. It's all just random stuff. And I love it so much. It is so funny. So here's something to watch. And it's kind of in poor taste, but I loved it. And it's called The Prince on HBO Max. And it's a cartoon. And each episode is like 15 minutes long. And it's about the royal family.
Oh.
And it stars, I think it's because it's Georgie is the younger one. What's the oldest? I don't know. I don't know. I only know Prince Harry and Princess Di and William and Kate, but it's all of them. And it's kind of in poor taste. So when I first started watching it, I felt uncomfortable laughing because it's just like, yeah, but I think he died, and it was like that. But then by the time it was over, I was in stitches and I started it over again. So I've watched it 3 times straight through now. And I remember I saw an interview on YouTube where people were arguing about it. And like one woman was like, it's just very much in poor taste. This is real people that they're talking about. And one person was like, it's funny. It's a parody. It's funny. And I'm like, I'm going to just listen to him because it's so funny. And it probably is in horrible taste. But I just think
no, I'm totally going to watch it.
It's so funny. It's just like, and it's so easy to watch. And it has a little bit of cringe uncomfortableness to it. But it's another one where it's one of those like, what am I watching? There's no point to it except for to sit and watch. And I love it. I need TV like that right now. And it's just like, it's really appreciative.
And then I'm all excited because one of my favorite authors just released a new book. And so I'm like torn between like, do I start it now or do I like save it up for the weekend? I got a long weekend. I can just read.
What's your favorite author?
So I have never read Harry Potter or like, I don't, I know it's a thing, but I was like a little old for that. But J.K. Rowling writes under a pen name of Robert Galbraith, and she writes the series of mystery novels. So a new one was just released yesterday or today, I think today. And so I'm very excited. The last book that came out was like 2 years ago, and I think it was like over 1,000 pages. And I was like, oh my God, I'm here for every minute of it. It took me like a week and a half to read it. So anyway, I'm very excited. I'm trying
Do
to
you
like.
ever get like melancholy after you finish a book? And
Oh yeah, like a book hangover.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. Yeah.
It's like so sad. I have so many favorite authors. And right now I decided whenever I am sad, I start this one book series, and it's called I think it's the Forevermore series by Scarlett Dawn. And this was the first series that I found of hers on my Kindle years and years ago. And I have read it. I lost count of how many times I've read the series straight through. It's like in 2 sections. There's 3 books, and then there's another 3 books. So it's like 25 years later, another 3 books. And the second 3 books are great, but the first 3 books are like, oh, I love it so much. And they came out, someone commissioned the very first book to be out on Audible. It wasn't her, and it wasn't her publishing house. And she tried to explain to me like how it works, because she's also an author that you can email and she'll talk to you. Yeah, nice. She has a whole group and stuff, and I will contact her, and she was like, yeah, she's like, I have no control over that. And I was just like, damn it. Because I was like, if I were a multimillionaire, if I won the lottery tomorrow, one of my petty purchases would be to hire a voice actor or actress to do all of the books for me. And they would just be my copies, and I would just listen to them over and over again. But these books are so good. But, there's her. Then there is the Discovery of Witch books by, I can't remember her name right now. But those books are so good. And those they are on Blu-ray now because Amazon Prime, was it Amazon? No, it wasn't Amazon Prime. It was one of those Sun something. Anyway, it was one of those channels that I can get through Amazon Prime. Right. And so I loved those. And then there's another series. I'm horrible at people's names, but I have these series where I'm just like so obsessed with them, and I love them so much. And there's like one out of that group of authors, one of them has a completely different series, and it's like called is it the Throne of Glass or something? The Glass Throne. I don't know what it is. And I started it, and I think I've read the first book or listened to Audible. And I'm actually afraid to really get into it because there's a lot of books, because that book hangover is going to be intense. And I'm just like not in the mood for it. But I've been tempted to try and read the Harry Potter books, because I keep telling Rodrigo, I kicked him out of the room because he's panting so loudly. And he's like at the door, like, let me back in. Oh. It's like, no. He's probably just, because there's 2 doors, he's probably just going to walk around and come through the other. Yep. He's going to walk around, and he's now through the other door. He's a smart dog. I love him. And of course, he comes right here underneath the mic. Oh, nope, he's over there now. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's a loud panter. But so I don't know. I do want to read the Harry Potter books, because I hear that they're like so immensely better than the movies. But I don't think that that's me. But maybe I'll try the first one and see. Maybe I'll try the first one, and I'll become like this person that starts pushing it onto everyone.
I've never seen the movies. I don't know. Really? There's a lot of, I don't know. Sometimes it's just like, now it's just on principle. I'm not going to watch it. I don't know. Like Lord of the Rings, I have never read the books. I have never seen the movies. Really? Like, I don't want, that's like, It's not my jam. Like Game of Thrones, none of that. Like
Lord of the Rings. Okay. So this is, a trip to Petty University right here. Back when there was a Blockbuster in those fun days, they would put stuff on sale, like and discounted on sale. And they had the Lord of the Rings extended version trilogy box set in this beautiful box set. It wasn't supposed to be marked down, but someone marked it down by 50% off, or I don't know. But in the end, I was able to get it for like $20-$30, and it was not supposed to be that cheap. And so I was just walking around with it, because I was just like, is this really on sale? And it was the only thing. And so I'm walking around with it. So I put it on the counter, and I was just like, is this really on sale? And the guy was like, no, but they marked it down. And so we have to give it to you for this price. And someone in line was like, if you're not going to buy it, I'm going to buy it. And I'm like, I'm buying it. And I owned it for years before I opened it up and watched it. I simply bought it because I didn't want someone else to have it. It was horrible. So yeah, that's me. So tell me what's new with your dogs.
So Penny had an interesting appointment last week. So a few weeks back, our veterinarian had recommended that we do like a proactive orthopedic evaluation on Penny, just because she's getting older and we want to make sure that, we're keeping her comfortable. And my vet had done this with her own dog and found out like, oh, her arthritis is like way worse than I thought it was. And she, made some changes. So she was like with Penny, with her age, and, we should get her looked at too. So I had made the appointment probably like 2 months ago, and it finally happened last week. So overall, it was pretty good news, which I was glad to hear. And we got some answers to some things that, I've wondered about for a long time. So when I very first found Penny, I would be walking her and, you're behind, you're getting like the butt view. We're not great at heeling, with our dogs. So I'm basically always looking at their butts, when I'm walking. And I realized that her gait seemed off to me, and I couldn't quite explain it at the time, but it was kind of like with her right back leg, she would take like smaller steps, and she always kind of had this kind of off gait. So that was when I originally started taking her to the chiropractor. So Penny and I go to the same chiropractor. She treats people and animals, but she was actually Penny's chiropractor first. And then I was like, oh, you see people too? And then I started going to her. So we have always, been doing this chiropractic work, and our theory was that maybe Penny had an old right hip injury, and that was why she had this problem with her gait. And we always do like a lot of massage, and she has, she and I both have like a wonky right hip and like we have to massage our psoas muscles. So, I don't know what that means, that she and I have like the same thing going on, it's very funny. So when we got the x-rays back, what we actually realized is that she actually has like a congenital mild hip dysplasia. Oh. So the way that they explain it to me is like that the hip joint is kind of like a ball and socket situation. And with her, it's like the socket from the time she was born has like never been quite like deep enough. That's why she's just always kind of been prone to having this like tight hip joint issue. So they said there's, hers is so mild, they would never recommend doing like surgery or anything for it. But I guess apparently dog hip replacements are a thing. I didn't realize that. Yeah. But he's like, she's nowhere near in that kind of category with the situation. So one of the other things that I thought was interesting is Penny's also always had kind of like a sway back look to her. And even though she's not a fat dog at all, she's like a great weight right now, she always just looks like her belly's kind of like sagging or hanging a little. And he thinks that that's from her having a lot of puppies, a lot of litter of puppies in the past. So that was interesting just when he looked at everything on x-ray, because that was one of the questions that I had for him. And so that's another reason why the chiropractic care with her is so important. Like when she's out of alignment, she has a really like pronounced saggy kind of belly look to her. And then one of the other things I have been concerned about, how on the dogs kind of walk up on their toes, and on her front right foot, like 2 of her middle toes are kind of flattened and they kind of drop down. It's probably been for like a year now. And at first I thought maybe like Nino had like stepped on her or something. Like we thought it was like an injury or something, but it kind of has never gone away. And I was concerned with arthritis. And he said there actually wasn't really that much arthritis, that's something that just kind of can happen with older dogs. And kind of, he kind of took a, let's not worry about that, kind of situation. So he basically was just showing that there's definitely some arthritis in her hips and the beginnings of some mild arthritis in her shoulders. But, of course, they always want you to do Rimadyl and NSAIDs. But I think we're just going to increase her CBD a little bit and see if that helps her be a little more active. And there's a supplement that I love. And I realized I hadn't bought it in a while because sometimes I'll just buy it when I get like a coupon code or something. But it's elk velvet antler. And I get it from Pet Health and Nutrition Center because I guess some people are weird about elk velvet antler because some places they actually like hurt the elk or anesthetize elk to remove the antlers. And so a lot of people aren't really into using that supplement, but this company is like extremely ethical, and they literally just only like work with elk that have naturally lost their antlers. It's nothing like surgical or forced or anything. So I really love that company. So I'm like, I need to just keep her on this all the time and not, just wait till there's a coupon code. I think, it'll have to be like a year-round thing now.
You said the Pet Health and Nutrition Center?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And I love them for they have an amazing colostrum supplement, and it's a husband and wife that run the company. He's a master herbalist. You can call and have like consults with the wife. Wow. They really helped us out a lot when my Lucy was sick, which was, oh my goodness, back in 2014 now. They're a really lovely company, and they have other companies' products too that you would recognize, but they also make a lot of their own formulations. So shout out to them.
Very cool. I should do that with Rodrigo and see what, they have to say. He's like so healthy and so easy, knock on wood. He's been like such an easy dog, of late, the past few years. It's been kind of just strange. And I was on a call this morning. It was a bunch of content creators. Microsoft has this cool program for content creators. And so we're writing for Microsoft. And so we had this sort of like a informational training session about these cool little tools that we can find online and use to make our blogs even better, which it was kind of fascinating and interesting. But, we introduced ourselves. And of course, whenever you bring up dogs, which is something I so appreciate, other people, the conversation like derails just a little bit as everyone's like, oh, that's great. Can I private message you? And I'm like, yeah, of course. The more readers, the better. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I would love to do that with Rodrigo, just to have like an ultrasound and x-rays just to see what he looks like today.
Oh, and one of the other things that was great that I hadn't even thought about, obviously x-rays go through the body. So, her lungs look great. Her heart looks great. Everything looks great too. So that was just a nice confirmation to get.
Oh, that's so cool. You got to love that.
Yeah.
Especially, I think that's what's so funny is that considering her background, I love that she's so healthy.
Yeah.
I love it. I shared our last episode on social media and was just like, talk about winning the lottery. With you as, she is this crazy nerdy, dog mom is going to do everything for her. It's like, wow.
She was in such rough shape when I found her. She was just like scabby and like missing half her fur. She still has a spot on her tail where her fur never grew back. She was in she just covered in fleas and she was in such rough shape when I found her.
Yeah. It's so amazing. Just like then and now. I love stories like that. What is that? Is it called the Dodo or something? They're on social media and they have all these cool videos.
Yeah.
I actually don't like their videos, to be honest, because a lot of them are just so sad. And even though I know eventually they'll get to a happy ending, I just don't feel like being dragged through the sadness to get there. It's just like the payoff isn't enough for me. Yeah. But sometimes they have like videos that aren't as drastic and sad. And there's one that I've seen it twice now, and I just love it so much, about this guy goes to a shelter to adopt a dog, and he adopts this old senior dog because they're like, nobody wants her. And he was just like, well, at least she can, if she's dying, she can die in a home and loved and comforted and stuff. And then, they show him trying to get her to come, and she's just like on a leash, like, I don't know who you are and where we're going. And, she's hesitant, but at the end of the video, she's running around and playing and stuff. And it's just like, she wasn't dying. She was just, in a bad situation. And I was just like, I love, those are the stories that I love. Those are the stories that I think the ASPCA should have commercials on.
Right.
In my opinion, not that they're asking, but I love that. And I get a kick out of the fact that Rodrigo, I was thinking about it this morning. I'm rewriting old blog posts. And there was a time when I wanted to rehome him, because I was just like, he's so bad and he doesn't listen. And he's always running off. And I was like, I just can't deal with this dog anymore. And, instead of rehoming him, I worked with a dog trainer and was like, oh, I'm the problem. And now it's like so crazy because he's such a great dog. And same thing with Apollo. Apollo is just really turned around night and day. He's such a good dog. I was outside, it's really hot today, but it's like that nice hot where there's a breeze that comes through to keep it from being miserable. And so I was working outside, and I usually wouldn't have the dogs outside with me because I can't trust them to just stay still. But today they did. They all just laid in the grass and enjoyed the sun. And I was just like, this is what I mean. This is why you guys can do this. This is awesome. So that made me happy. So I got a test results from, how about I just not say their name just yet? Because I feel bad because I don't like bashing companies. And I hope this doesn't come across as bashing, but it's a company that I had hoped would be, competition for Animal Biome. And I hope based on their pricing model, because the most expensive is $500. And that's basically a combination of 3 tests that they offer. And those tests are $200 each. And I was expecting to get a report that was similar to Animal Biome, but just way more. Because with Animal Biome, you give them a little sample, tiny bit you give them a full-on piece of poo.
Oh, okay.
Other company. And I was just like, man, they're going to, for $500, this is going to be epic.
So this is another company, right, where you're sending out the poop sample and they're going to examine it and give you a report. And my recollection is it had to do with like leaky gut syndrome was like what they were screening for, these like different markers.
There was leaky gut, and there were a couple other things too. And I got the report back. I was so excited when I got the email, and I got first one email and I was like, nope, I'm not going to look at it because I want both reports. And then when I got the next email because I tested Apollo and Zoe. So now they're both done. And I waited until last Thursday because I wanted to print it out. I was going to be highlighting, making notes. I was so excited. The report was so unbelievably disappointing and underwhelming that I was just like, all I could think in my head was, this cost $500. I didn't pay $500. They gave me the test for free, but this test cost $500. And I know personally, if I had spent $500 with this company and this is the test I got back, I would have been furious. I mean, because it was maybe a page and a half of information. And you have to go to their website to look for and understand what everything means, which that isn't, too bad. But what bothered me was like tons of little petty things. Like, there were spelling errors. So, there's one enzyme that was spelled with an A on one page and with an O on another page. And it's like, well, which is it? And there was some, I think I found one grammar error that actually changed the meaning of the sentence. Oh. And so it was just like, you need to fix that because does it mean this or does it mean that? But what was really I could walk away and say, well, my dogs are pretty healthy, but I don't even know. I mean, all this test made me want to do is order 2 Animal Biome tests and have them properly tested to see what those said. Because what I got back didn't really tell me anything. And their recommendations, whether your dog was high in an enzyme or low in an enzyme, the recommendations was to add probiotics. They didn't tell you like what types of probiotics, what you should look for, what your dog needed. None of that. Just add probiotics and improve your dog's diet. And it was just, that can mean so many things to so many different people. Yes. And they don't offer that. I saw a consultation and that was it. So I did contact them and I let them know about, like one of the reports wasn't complete. And I guess there was some type of glitch in their system where the report one of the line items didn't show up on Zoe's report, but it was on Apollo's. And I basically just went back and said, I don't know how to review this because my review would not be favorable because honestly, it's like for $500, I mean, I wouldn't pay $200 for the information I got. I mean, maybe $50 is out of curiosity. I mean, but it's so strange to me because I hear from people all the time whose dogs are sick, whose dogs are like itching all the time and they've tried everything. Their vet has tried everything and nothing's working. And every single time I get one of those emails, I always ask, have you tested the gut microbiome? Because that is, at least it gives you a place to either start or something to rule out. And the test isn't that expensive. I mean, yeah, not everyone has an extra $100 lying around. But if someone is spending the money to get their dog well and they're already going to vet visits, in my opinion, save the vet visit money and put that towards an animal biome test. And at least that gets you going in a certain direction. And then on top of it, animal biome offers supplementation to help you. And granted, I understand, you know, some people are like, well, that's the only reason why they're doing it is to sell their supplements. And I would agree if they had like really shady, crappy supplements, but I like their supplements.
Yeah.
And I'm actually considering getting the gut restore for Zoe and Apollo, but I want to have them test it first. But this new company doesn't offer supplements. It doesn't give you any type of direction on what you can do. And after, you know, you and I spoke with Holly of Animal Biome, you know, and after my experience with Animal Biome most recently, I always in my head, when I see someone recommend probiotics, my thought is, well, a dog's microbiome is very different than a human's microbiome. So what exactly does my dog need? And a lot of the probiotic supplements for pets on the market only contain one strain. I mean, yeah, there's billions of it, but it's just one strain. And my worry, which is what they brought up, is will that ultimately replace what's naturally in the gut?
Right. Create another imbalance. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, so, you know, and maybe that's not what I need. So ultimately, I was just really disappointed because there are a lot of people out there who love their animals and who have sick animals and they're looking for guidance. And I'm seeing people who I don't think that they're trying to take advantage. I think that they are coming up with the product without my question to them is, have you guys even looked into Animal Biome and maybe tested one of your dogs and got the report back and went over everything? Because that's who you're competing with. And that's very stiff competition. I mean, it's not like Animal Biome is this shady, you know, company where no one likes them and there's an opening in the market now. No, it's like people very much, you know, there are veterinarians who are telling their clients to know now we need to do an animal biome test. So they're very much, you know, respected. And they're so focused on the gut biome that they suck at social media. And I've actually heard that complaint. My holistic vet said that, where she's like, it drives me crazy because everything is kind of at a like, oh, maybe we should have a sale. Oh, maybe we should do this, because their heads are so into the science that the rest of it is kind of secondary. So they're not trying to take advantage of people. We don't see a bunch of ads on Instagram promoting Gut Restore.
Right.
So it's just like, and every time I see an ad from this new company, I'm starting to see them on YouTube now. I'm just like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's like, have you guys looked at your report? And are these real words that you put in there? I just have so many questions. And so we are going to get on the phone and have a conversation so I can get my questions answered. But I'm just really surprised. And of course, there's a market for everything. And most of my followers, they're not all like dirt poor or anything, but people are very cognizant of their budget. And it's like one of those where if I have $500, I would rather spend $100 on an animal biome test, maybe another $100 on supplements, and then I have $300 extra that I can spend on food,
right?
Rather than spending all of it on this test that really doesn't give me any directions. Like I didn't walk away from the test feeling like I understood anything about my dogs. And so, yeah.
I had really high hopes when I first heard about it because leaky gut is something that I don't think gets talked about enough. And when you say, you're hearing dogs with allergies, dogs with skin issues, my first thought is there's a leaky gut issue. Yeah. So I was really excited about this idea of being able to quantify what leaky gut is. But yeah, it was really disappointing to see, the results. And I was thinking back to the early days of Animal Biome and how they've really evolved their reports and results. And, so I'm hoping that when you get on the phone and get more information, you'll be like, oh, okay. And maybe this will help them, evolve with what they're doing. Cause $500 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And 200's a lot.
Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant to say their name, because it's like if they're brand new, maybe they just need feedback.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then of course on the flip side, it's kind of like, you guys aren't the only ones in the market. Have you looked at Animal Biome at all? Did you look at them at all? Because it's like, I was emailing back and forth with the person because I was just like, I don't know what to do. It's like, I had to take screen captures and copy and paste them into a Word document to convert it to a PDF and to print it out and all of that. And it's like, no one's going to want to do all of that. And we shouldn't have to. It's like, if your screen says click here to print, then it should print, and yours does not. And maybe it's something wrong on my end. So who knows? But it's just sort of like the fact that I'm doing a copy and paste job, and the fact that all of your advice is pretty much the same advice. You're not telling me anything. The thing that I loved about the Animal Biome test is that, it explained that if it's too much, this is what's going on. If it's too little, this could be going on. If your dog is like raw fed, this is normal because you notice this. And it talked about why it would be high and why it would be low, and then what you can add to the diet. It actually didn't go into, but if you add our gut restore, it just talked about fiber and, vegetables, or, all these things that you can add. And then in the end, it gave you recommendations, and it wasn't all their supplement. The recommendations were a couple of their supplements, but then also fiber, they said, psyllium husk. And I guess something else, but it was just something you can just buy at the store. So you didn't have to buy their supplements necessarily. And another test, the Glacier Peak sensitivities test, same thing, is that they give you this test. It's quite overwhelming because everyone I've spoken to who's done that test, it comes back with red everywhere. So it's like, oh gosh, my dog needs to be in a bubble.
Yeah.
And they explain to you that, well, if this is something that's been in your dog's diet recently and you've been feeding it a lot, then it will come up as a sensitivity. So it's just a sign of add more variety. Don't feed this every single day. And they didn't even bring up their supplements. They do have supplements, but they didn't even bring them up. They were like, a lot of this, because I did it for Rodrigo, and they're like, a lot of the stuff that we have, you can just, fix this at the store. And, it was really quite simple. But this test, and again, that one, less than $100. And I think some of these tests, their regular price may be $100 or more, but there's so many discount codes floating around that you can get it for less than $100. And I'm waiting now. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Animal Biome does a buy one, get one free. So I can just have Zoe and Apollo test it and see what because that would be interesting just to see the comparison. But, I walked away, the reason why I wanted to do this review is I love the idea of identifying health issues early. I think a lot of times we do annual blood work, and it's like, maybe we should be doing annual, microbiome tests, and I just, to me, $500, no, I would rather, if I'm going to spend $500 on my dog, not in the way I just said a few minutes ago. I mean, I'd rather go and have ultrasound and x-ray done, cause that's about $500.
Or parsley pet.
Yeah. I would, have a nutrient test, but cause all of that stuff, it gives you something. I walked away from this with like, oh, okay. But I honestly could not tell you how my dogs are doing. I mean, I think they're doing fine because there were only 3 areas that were in the red. Zoe had 1 area and Apollo had 2 areas. And, but it's just sort of like, so what does this mean? And it just made me want to spend money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because they're too new for me to trust the outcome. And I'm just so disappointed because I was planning on emailing it to you and we could have this big old breakdown. And I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with this. And the thing about it is that I'm not ready to say, oh, well, they're scamming people, because I don't know how much like the lab work stuff.
Right. Like, I don't know what their costs are. Yeah.
Exactly. Because it's like, if they're, when they talk about titer testing and how expensive titer testing can be, and it's just like, it depends on, in some cases, on where they're sending the lab work to. And that is very expensive. And they're basically, if you're going to make us do this, so you're going to pay for it. So it is expensive. So that's what I wonder, if it's just that their testing is super expensive compared to what Animal Biome is. And also Animal Biome that started as scientists in a lab. So maybe they have their own stuff and they don't have the cost that this new company has. But I honestly don't know. Either way, $500 is too much money.
Yeah, I hope that they will continue to evolve their process and information, because leaky gut is an important thing to find a way to screen for, and it'd be really great information for some people to have. So yeah, I hope that it can all be improved, an improved pet parent experience.
Yeah, I found it. Yeah. So one test, it tests your dog's digestion and detox. It tests inflammation and immunity, and then it tests for leaky gut. And so I got the comprehensive, which includes all of that. And so, and I still don't know.
And those sound like really important things that would be great information to have.
I mean, I was super excited. I mean, because I think about, Sydney and Scout, and like, could I have caught any of this prior to, like, for instance, before Scout was diagnosed with cancer, I had all of my dogs nutrient tested, and only Scout's report came back a little wonky. And I wonder if it picked up on something that was the cancer, but I don't know. I mean, I probably can go back and figure that out, but not ready. But it's like, these can be very valuable. And the thing about it is that if it really does work, if this really worked and you got a tremendous amount of information for it, $500 might be worth an investment for some people, or at least, the company, and you just wait for a discount code. And
right.
Because that's what I do with Parsley Pet, is I wait for a discount code and buy it that way. But I'm just so bummed out, because I feel like all of these people, like, they're on the right track, but it's not quite there, just not quite there, but they're on the right track. So we'll see. So do you plan on doing any testing this year for your dogs?
We did a round of Animal Biomes earlier this year for Penny and Nino, and everybody looked pretty good. So my inclination is just, as long as everybody's doing good, I'm okay for right now.
Yeah.
But, I've always wanted to do Parsley Pet. I've never done it. Now that I know to wait for Black Friday, like, I totally want to do that. Yeah, because that's like the one thing that I don't think that we did with everything that we did with Penny. And I've been working on putting together my list to send to Dr. Holly of, everything we did with Penny. So, yeah, I think like nutrient testing is the one thing we didn't do.
But I think I don't think I'll do a Parsley Pet test this year. I mean, I probably should, because I do it every other year, and this is the year that I would do it. And the last time I did it was 2020. But I don't think I'm going to do it. I do want to do the Animal Biome, though, for my other two dogs. And I kind of want to do a sensitivity test. I don't think I really need to, but if there was a sale, I would definitely do it. I would definitely do it on Apollo, because he had a yeasty butt. That I got to cure. And that was an enjoyable experience. And I'm moving right now because I'm scratching him underneath his chin. He's underneath the table. And he puts his face, his nose and stuff in my hand so I can scratch his chin. But he had a yeasty butt. I have no idea where it came from. And it was one of those where it was like, dude, I can't right now. Like, I got so much going on. My head's not in the game. I need your butt not to be okay. But it was like, I just noticed that his butt was really dark. like the pigment was very dark. And and he kept licking his butt, and I looked at it when he would let me, because every time I lifted up his tail, he would scooch down and run away. And I'm like, okay, dude, we need to look at your butt. And it was red in areas, and even a little bit of broken skin, just tiny bit of broken skin. So I was like, well, that's not good. And I changed his diet, because my dogs in the summertime, they eat a lot of pork and duck and beef, like neutral and cooling proteins in the summer. And so I put him on turkey by Darwin's Pet. They sent me 40 pounds of food, and I wish I would have asked for 40 pounds of turkey, because it turned out to be just the thing he needed. So I put him on turkey, and every day I would spray his butt with, before it was healed, like the little scratches were healed, I'd sprayed his butt with colloidal silver twice a day, and then massage. After the first spray, coconut oil. After the second spray, the salve from CBD Dog Health, I think it's called Soothe. And so I did that every single day. And then when everything healed up, I started spraying with a mixture of 50-50 of apple cider vinegar and water, and then coconut oil, and then salve. And it cleared up. And I just had to keep him from licking it. Good. And it cleared up perfectly. And actually, he has a vet appointment on Friday just in case it didn't clear up. So since it looks good and he's not bothering it anymore, I can go ahead, and I'm actually between, like, should I cancel the vet appointment, or should I just call them and say I'm bringing this dog instead and have it anyway? And so I haven't figured that out. I have 24 hours to figure that out.
Nino had a little itchy spot that he was digging at in his lower stomach near his manhood area. And I don't know, for like 2 or 3 days, I saw him like kind of itching at this one spot, and it was just a tiny bit red. And I was talking to Tim, because I'm like, I know this dog, like the minute I put something on there, he's just going to lick it all off. Right off. And it's, and then he'll like obsess over it, and make it like even worse. Mm-hmm. Because I have this wound balm stuff that I love, and I have some of the CBD Dog Health. I think it's called Remedy. Yeah. I think I have that one. And I was like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And then I found my colloidal silver spray, and I was like, oh, I'll just do this. So yeah, like I just kind of squirted him, for like 2 days or something, and it's like totally gone and away. And,
love colloidal silver.
And he didn't, he wasn't like into, licking that or anything. So
yeah. I just love colloidal silver. Okay. So before we sign off, I want to ask you a question. This is not planned, but I'm really excited about what you have to say. That is, do you ever, like, you bought it for your dogs, but now you take it too?
I don't know. Nothing is like striking me off the top. Like, I mean, I do use colloidal silver for myself. Mm-hmm. But which I probably did originally buy for the dogs, and then I just started using it.
See, now I feel weird.
Like Nux vomica, the homeopathic remedy for Nux vomica, I first heard about that for Lucy, and then they were like, oh, you could take that too. So if I have like indigestion, and actually when I was on chemo, and it like messes up your whole stomach situation, I took a lot of Nux vomica then. I mean, I've used like some of the ointments before, but those are the big ones.
I'm like such a weirdo now. So here's my list. So if I get a bug bite, I reach for, CBD Health, the Soothe for the bug bites. Like I was eaten up by mosquitoes this year and did beautifully on that. Takes the itch away right away. I do the colloidal silver. If I'm not feeling well, if I have, a cold or intense allergies, I always do reach for my colloidal silver, or I should say their colloidal silver. I do their, Wonderside before I go outside. If I remember, so I don't get eaten up by mosquitoes, I spray myself with Wonderside. I put Kin and Kine on them because the Wonderside smell is really strong, and so Zoe doesn't like it.
I don't like that cedar smell.
Yeah, Zoe does not like it at all. And the other dogs are just sort of like, but they don't mind kin and kind. And I started using this new product that I was introduced to this year from Project Suds, and they have a flea and tick stuff. And it has a very mild scent. And so they don't mind that either. But I figure I have all this Wondercide in the house. So I just spray it on myself on every exposed area before I go outside. And it does work. It keeps the mosquitoes away. Probably because I smell like a tree. But, but it's just so funny. I think, the only thing I don't sample is probably their food. But I've tried like the full bucket digestive supplement. I put a couple scoops of that into a morning smoothie. Although they're now on Gut Soothe by Animal Biome, but I still have full bucket in the house. But I think it's just so funny because I look at all of these things and they're from companies that I trust, and they have so much like pride in the fact of their sourcing and their manufacturing that it's like, well, I know that this is good stuff, or I can go to the store and get this. I don't know where this came from. Right. So I'll just take this stuff. And yeah, I've done their, Slippery Elm. I've done all kinds of stuff that belongs to them. Yeah.
So one thing, have you ever heard of tickless? I don't know if you guys have Lyme disease and stuff
I'm
where
sure
you are.
Have something similar, but I don't know.
So about a year ago, I found out about this thing called tickless, and they wear it on their collar, and it emits a frequency that like keeps ticks and fleas and stuff away, but like the dogs don't hear it and we don't hear it. And so I had originally bought it for the dogs, but it has worked so well that I bought one for Tim and I. They have a people version too, so I bought them for Tim and I also. You can put them on your shoes.
Very cool.
And so what I'll say is there's only been one time in this past, I think it's been almost a year, that we forgot to put them on, because I think like one day we were walking them on their harnesses and we like forgot to put their collars on when we walked them, and we found ticks on both the dogs that day. And that's the only time in the past year that we found ticks on the dogs.
I've always wondered about products like that, if they really, really work. But that is
because it's weird, right? Because you're kind of like, I don't hear anything. Did I just spend a bunch of money on
exactly? It's like, is this like some type of scam thing? Because it sounds like something like some MLM
right?
With where it's these pearls, and they help you, and they emit a frequency, and it just sounds like okay, yes. You're my friend and I want to support you, so I will buy one. Leave me alone, but I'm not joining your upline.
Exactly. But yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about it. And there's and sometimes there's certain areas where we walk with that I know are heavier ticks, and so I'll use extra things. I'll use kin and kind. I'll use Animalio if I know we're going in one of those areas. But on our normal walks, like just normal around the neighborhood or something, the tickless is the only thing that we use, and we've had ticks just from normal neighborhood walks. So that's kind of been like our primary thing, for this year, unless we're going into like the woods or something, doing like a hike or something like that. But
cool.
Yeah. And there was one day where so we live right near a high school, and they have an environmental science program, and they have like this whole like wooded area. So we always pick up ticks if we go back there. And so this one day we came out of there and they had the collars on, and Tim thought he saw something. And so I'm down on my hands and knees in the parking lot of this high school looking at Penny's butt just to see that it was kind of like a skin taggy, little thing. And
you told me this story before, and it never gets old because I just think about people. And what's funny about it is that because I'm a dog person, I would have just been like, oh, she's checking something out. But it's like for the people who aren't, and they see us doing like, man, the things we do. That's why it's like, one thing that makes me just laugh randomly is thinking about having cameras in my house, like the Big Brother house, the things that people would see that I do with my dogs, where I'm just like, chasing Apollo around so I can spray colloidal silver on his butt. And,
you should have seen me trying to get it on in his junk.
And then when they go to lick it off, and it's like, no. And so it's like I have to, with the coconut oil, because he loves coconut oil. So I take some and I sit it on a table so he can lick it off the table while I'm massaging it on his butt. And then I have to watch him because he's watching me. Because the second I turn him around, he's like, I know where the rest of the coconut oil is. I'm going for it the second you leave the room. And so one day I put a cone, like the donut, around his neck, and he was just so miserable. He just looked so miserable with it, just sort of like, she got me. But I knew that if he really wanted to, he would find his way out of it. And 15 minutes later, it was like on the floor, and he was like, I got you. Got it off. So, well, yay. It was great talking to you, Erin.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Until next time.